I've been asked questions since I started doing press conferences and stuff, saying like, you know, normally I get asked things like, what's your favorite food, stuff like that, and then and what would a perfect date be? And then I do Cosmopolis, and people ask me, what are your feelings about the economy and everything? I noticed it in Cannes that I start speaking very, very confidently about things that I know absolutely nothing about, so I have to stop myself. But yeah, in 10 years, I don't know. I hope. I don't know. I hope it's nice.
It turns out that the world economists actually also know nothing about what they're talking about. So anything that Rob says about the economy or investing is probably just as valid, really.
The scene with Kendra, my bodyguard, was quite hard because that's one shot, and you don't even really notice that it's one shot in the movie. But it's a strange, the mechanics of it are quite difficult. Like just to kind of, you have a very, very dialogue-heavy scene, and you try and intersperse that with a sex scene. It's like, it's more complicated than it seems. It's like, yeah, I can't even think of a good analogy for it. But it was quite complicated. But the other ones, the one with Juliet as well, was quite difficult not to laugh in, which that was, yeah, they're fun. It's always much easier for the guy in those things. Especially when I'm doing them for some reason. I never really end up doing anything.
If you want. The film was, from the beginning, the budget was 15 million euros, and the film cost 15 million euros. And that's the first thing that David asked me before writing the script, you know, or maybe the script or was already written, I didn't know, just for how much we can make the movie. And I said, I think I can go up to 15 million. More than that, it's going to be difficult for any independent producer to keep this freedom that I think it was really necessary for the film. And the 15 million were there because this film is all my other films, because it's a film that needed a bond, uma garantia de bom fim. And for that, all the finance has to be in place before the bank liberates any money, you know. And that's the point of, for example, some big projects fail sometimes, some days just before the shooting is when they don't have this bond, you know. And we have the bond exactly 1 year ago, 3 days before the start of the shoot. But there was that.
This is the first that I've heard.
Really, the book was really cinematographic, that I really would like to have the rights, and he told me how to try it, you know. Everyone has tried my books, no one until now arrived to make a film of my book. And the first on my idea was David, but I didn't know David. I had, you know, I think we met for 2 minutes or something one day in London, and after, it's true that always for 2 years I was how I can bring the book for David. And I thought in other directors, but I'm not going to mention now. And one day my son told me, Papa is really for David. You cannot afford, you have to go and see him, and you have to convince him, and I came with you if it's needed. And we went to Toronto. And
he actually thought I was David Lynch.
working, I mean, I've worked with a lot of producers, I'll answer the Paolo one first, who have very, very, very many opinions about when they're on set, and can't help themselves but tell the actors and tell the director what they think all the time, and a lot of the time it's not really, it's quite disruptive. Sometimes it can be helpful, but Paolo, I think you're only there for about 3 days at the shoot, and so I think that was, even that decision in itself, I think is being a pretty good producer. Like, it's very stress-free. But with the actors, I mean, I think only Paul was attached when I signed on, and then just seeing each new person go onto the list, it was like unbelievable. I think Juliet was next, and then Sarah, and I saw Sarah's audition for something else, which was really good. But I mean, it's very nerve-wracking because they're sort of independent. It's a separate movie basically with each character. But I think just the fact that I had the limousine and I was the only one who was comfortable in the set, because they all had to get used to it. Especially Juliet. Like, Juliet really felt like bound by it. She wanted to really use the space, and it's so strange to do this. I think I did 2 takes of my part of it, and then I'm doing a scene with Juliette Binoche the first time I met her, and she's doing like 26 takes. It's like, it always gets to the point where it's kind of, you know, I'm just like, David, please, please stop doing it. But you know, it definitely takes away the nerves a little bit. And then with Paul, it was for whatever reason, I just got on with him really well right from the beginning. And I think because he was extremely nervous as well, so it made it easier.
These two and.
If you had 24 hours to cross Manhattan under those same circumstances as in the movie, what would you, Robert and David, do it for?
What would we?
What would make you cross Manhattan under some circumstances?
Well, this is a very theoretical question. I'm going to ask, I think Rob is, he really wants to answer that question.
Maybe to see Cosmopolis.
Yes. See, I knew he had the answer. Yes, because it might be only playing in one cinema on the west end of 47th Street.
Hello. My husband's question for radio. Were you disappointed with the fact that you didn't bring the award from the Cannes Festival?
We didn't want it. We refused it.
Yes. They were begging us to take it. We said no.
We are too young for that. You know what you do afterwards. You know, just
Win again, right? Again.
we just like to do the things once. That's all.
Hi, I'm looking from producerscale.com, and my question is for David and for Robert. What was the most difficult scene to film, to you, David, and to act, to you, Robert?
Well, actually, I think the scene with Juliette was the most difficult scene for me, just as a director, because she only came in for 2 days. We had talked many times about working together, but we had never worked together. And yes, she wanted, I encouraged her to use the whole space of the limousine, but she really did. So that meant a lot of improvisation, not of the dialogue, because I never want my actors to become screenwriters. I don't think that really works unless you construct the whole film that way, the way John Cassavetes did. So no improvisation of the dialogue, but the way you say the lines, where you say the lines, how you say the lines, that is for I want the actor to bring me new things. And Juliette had a lot of really interesting ideas, you can see in the movie. She moves all over the place and was very different from any of the other characters that way. So it was, I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it required a different attention from me. And so the result was, yes, I did many more takes with her because each take was quite different, and I have to make sure that they all fit together. And that she was the only actor really who did that, and that made that a unique scene. As I say, I wouldn't say it was difficult per se, but it was different.
There were a few. There was one I remember being incredibly uncomfortable, which was in the rave scene.
Oh,
Yeah, because I think that was the only scene where there were a lot of extras around and they could actually hear what I was saying, because they're pretending to rave and it's totally silent.
yeah.
And I think I only had like 2 lines. And when you're pretending to speak over music, you've really got to shout it. I think I'm literally saying like, yes! And every single person is just kind of overhearing, like, what is this from? They sound like, this sounds like so weird. Yeah, that was a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But that's one of my favorite scenes in the film.
Yeah, it's a nice thing.
Yeah.
But it is an unusual situation where you want to record the dialogue, so everybody else has to be quiet. And we actually played the music up to a certain point, and then as soon as our actors started speaking, the music stops. But all the extras are still dancing, but it's all quiet. And it's quite odd to be natural under those circumstances, yeah. And to play I don't want them to shout. I mean, actually, you would never be able to speak at all with that music that loud. But so it's a bit of a fantasy, really, fantasy scene that way. Yeah.
Last one.
Well, that's directly from the book. I mean, the whole idea of the Rothko chapel is from the book. But I mean, so I'm interpreting when I'm doing the script. I think this is an important moment because you have a character who is used to getting anything he wants. And in a way, because it's a chapel, he's wanting that serenity that you see in Rothko's paintings. He's wanting the peace and serenity. But the only way he has of achieving it is to buy it. He doesn't understand that kind of serenity comes from inside and you can't actually buy it, you know. So his only way of finding things is to buy things. And that's why at the beginning of the movie we have a sort of Jackson Pollock. It's all active and it's all action painting, and then at the end of the movie you have Rothkos that are silent and serene and calm, you know. But I think I think that was the meaning for Don. I haven't talked to him about it, but that was my interpretation of that whole sequence.
Pronto, eu queria agradecer a todos. I just really like to thank Rob, David to be here, and Don that is here with us, and to come to Portugal, because for me, it's important that to show the film here and to have them for the first time for Rob to be here with us in terms of professional. And I would like to thank two people that helped me in Portugal, José Fragoso e o Manuel Restaurante. Thank you.